The upcoming House of the Dragon is one of the most highly anticipated spin-off shows of all time, and fans of the legendary Game of Thrones cannot wait for the first season to drop later this year. However, some have actually questioned whether or not a show with the word dragon in the title will actually feature any dragons. Today, we are discussing if there will be any dragons in House of the Dragon. Let's jump straight in then. Will there be any dragons then? Of course! A show called House of the Dragon should actually have dragons in it, right? Of course. And after George R.R. Martin announced that this year we'll see the release of Game of Thrones prequel show, people instantly wanted to know all about the dragons that will be appearing. Since Daenerys had 3 dragons, we would probably be set for another 3 in House of the Dragon, but we can confirm that this is not the case. Martin himself confirmed that the show will feature 17 dragons, saying, "I've always thought this was a cool story. It's one I like, so I'm looking forward to seeing it come alive on screen. And of course, I'm looking forward to the dragons. Obviously, I love the dragons. We had 3 of them in Game of Thrones, but now we get like 17 of them, and hopefully, they'll each have their own personalities. They'll be instantly recognizable when you see them, the colors and all of that, because the dragons do have personalities in the books, and it'll be great to see that come alive. And the dragon riders, that's all pretty cool. It is pretty cool indeed, and hopefully the showrunners do the books justice, as of course, this one will again be adapted from one of Martin's books. Are you excited about this one? So what do we know about the plot of the show? Well, obviously, if you've seen the original series, House of the Dragon focuses on the origin story of House Targaryen, and is set around 300 years before the events of Game of Thrones. And of course, we are set to be introduced to a ton of platinum blonde-haired characters, who are all vying for position within the Great House. As we know, the house was subject to a turbulent time before the events of the original series, a time which pit sibling against sibling to see who could rule on the Iron Throne, and it is thought that the show will chronicle the life and times of the rogue prince, Daemon Targaryen, as well as detailing what went down during the Dance of the Dragons, a huge civil war that hit Westeros before the events of Game of Thrones. As we have come to learn, the famous house was the only Dragon Lord family to survive the doom of Valyria, when they retreated to Dragonstone, birthplace of Daenerys, and we are set to begin the story with Aegon the Conqueror, and his creation of the highly sought-after Iron Throne. Of course, we will learn how interwoven the Iron Throne is in Targaryen folklore, and why Daenerys craved it so much. And Martin himself has recently claimed that after seeing some rough cuts of episodes, he was pleased with what he had saw, and there will be plenty of dragons and battles, which we love. Are you excited about this one? What about the cast then? Stay tuned to hear all about it. Well, given the fact that Game of Thrones is one of the most popular shows of all time, a who's who of acting talent have come through for this one. British acting luminary Paddy Considine, who appeared in the classic Dead Man's Shoes, is set to play King Viserys Targaryen, a good man who might not quite be up to the job. Olivia Cooke, who recently appeared in the critically acclaimed Slow Horses, is also stopping by as Alicent Hightower, daughter of the King's Hand and an avid politician. Relative newcomer Emmett D'Arcy will be playing Prince Rhaenyra Targaryen, a pureblood Valyrian and dragon rider who's also the king's firstborn, whilst former Doctor Who actor Matt Smith will be playing Prince Daemon Targaryen, the king's brother and heir to the Iron Throne. Mr. Nice himself, Rhys Ifans, will also be stopping by as the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower. Steve Toussaint, who incidentally has also appeared in Doctor Who, plays Lord Corlys Velaryon, aka the Sea Snake, an important character who is said to have the largest navy in the world and a house bigger than the Lannisters. His wife, Princess Rhaenyra Velaryon, known as the Queen Who Never Was, will be portrayed by Eve Best, who also played Wallace Simpson in The King's Speech, whilst Sonoya Mizuno will be stopping by as Mysaria, who came to Westeros with nothing, but rose to have Prince Daemon's ear, probably similar to Missandei of Narth. Who are you most looking forward to meeting? So when exactly can we expect to see it? This one has been a long time in the making, having first been announced back in October of 2019. However, thanks to the COVID pandemic, of course, filming didn't actually begin until April of last year, 2021. But earlier this year, it was finally announced that the House of the Dragon would be getting its long-awaited release this August, the 21st to be specific, and will consist of 10 episodes. And we absolutely cannot wait for this one. Will you guys be hosting any watch parties? Let us know below. Is there a trailer? Stay with us to find out. We thought you'd never ask. And of course there is! The trailer begins with some haunting music, then a voiceover by Corlys basically asking what the meaning of life is. Before we see our first platinum blonde-haired characters, Prince Daemon and his sister, and of course a dragon flying high above a city, we then cut to King Viserys hosting Richard Stark and Borman Baratheon, all pledging their loyalty to the House Targaryen, before we see Prince Daemon, who we're supposed to assume is unhappy that Rhaenyra is heir to the Iron Throne. All the while, some pretty harrowing music is playing, whilst Otto Hightower warns that the upcoming Game of Thrones will be ugly, but that Rhaenyra has the determination to win it. We then see some excerpts from the season, before Corlys warns that history does not remember blood, only names, before Prince Daemon comes into shot with a fire-breathing dragon. The drama has been fully ramped up to 11 on this one, and we're set for an absolute epic when this finally drops in August. So how did House of the Dragon actually come about? Well, it'll come as absolutely no surprise to anybody that given the unparalleled success of Game of Thrones, HBO were long searching for a show that could match it, and what better than a spin-off of the main show itself? For a long time, there were a couple of ideas in the works, one of which was Bloodmoon, which was set to take place thousands of years before Game of Thrones, and told a story of the world's descent from the golden age of heroes into its darkest hour. However, given the largely negative reviews of the final couple of Game of Thrones seasons, that plan was shelved. But House of the Dragon, which had also been suggested and discussed on multiple occasions, stayed the course. And Martin, who spoke recently regarding the original show's successors, claimed that there were a number of other shows that were developed at that time, but he also went on to explain that most of them put together by writers that HBO hired who had never read my books. And when we were getting into this, I didn't want that anymore, which is essentially why Bloodmoon was shelved, it was thought. Martin was apparently impressed with Ryan J. Condal, who serves as co-star of House of the Dragon, and how much of the backstory he was actually aware of, which is ultimately why the show received his blessing. What other stories would you like to see explored from Game of Thrones universe? And finally, Martin has had his say on the Game of Thrones versus Lord of the Rings debate. Being the author of one of the greatest fantasy book franchises of all time, you are well paced to air your views on specific topics, and it just so happens George R.R. Martin, author of the Game of Thrones books, has given his thoughts on his epic novels against another famed franchise, Lord of the Rings. When asked about the perceived rivalry between both epics, now that the Lord of the Rings prequel show is underway at Amazon, he said, "It's kind of a weird deal. As you know, Amazon bought Tolkien, but they didn't actually get any of the books. They didn't get Lord of the Rings. They didn't get The Hobbit. They didn't even get the Silmarillion. I don't think they got Farmer Giles of Ham or Leaf by Niggle, but they got the appendices, I guess, and they're constructing a second age story about that. There's a lot of myth about that, so it'll be interesting to see what they did." He then finished by questioning why people had to pit one against the other, and we totally agree. As always, thanks for dropping in today, and remember to stop by next time for some more fun reveals. And remember to share today's video and subscribe to our channel while you're at it. Bye!